one of the casters here. And like it's already started, and I do want to touch in the Heretics on the blue side. They're banning away some of Yike's more dangerous picks in the jungle. Of course, that stage 1 is flexible. Alongside Exit Kicks, infamous Aphelios may have lost some of the win rate last series, but it's still very dangerous. The other side is trying to get rid of things like the Lucian, which Jack Spectre was so dangerous on.
Show me how you Azir.
And
not only that, but Draven's up for Jack Spectre right
Holy
now.
moly.
Is this LDLC throwing down the gauntlet and saying, are you going to just B1 it? Like you said, Trouble, I like the idea of just picking up the Azir as well. I think it's such a strong pick. We saw BDSA leverage the strength of it already in cores and yesterday as well. And I like now that they've pretty much secured solid mid lane priority.
Yeah, of course, the Azir, highest presence mid laner for the whole damn tournament, 93%. I think this will be the 64th pick overall, if I've done my math right. On the other side, you were right about that Draven being unbanned. 91% of the time it's banned against that team.
One game, and it's the only game that he picked it.
Yeah, and usually when you want to actually secure that Azir, that means that the picks like Draven, Kalista are really difficult to play into the Azir, which then allows Jack Spectre to go for it because the Azir is on your side. It creates room and space for you. Loving the Ornn pick right here. It brings me a lot of Astralis vibes where they're like, how do we win Ornn, Renata with Twitch kind of vibe? And honestly, I wouldn't be very baffled if I saw that. It makes sense.
Yeah, completely agree. And of course, Ragnar's Ornn is a thing of beauty, and it makes things like the Draven pretty tricky if they do want to go towards it. Kalista for Exit Kick is a bit of an LDLC special.
I'm sorry. Kalista into Azir sucks, but Kalista into Azir Draven might suck even more.
Yeah, that's not going to be a particularly good lane if Heretics decide to go for it. I was very kind of surprised. I expected LDLC to come out with a strong bot lane as soon as they instantly rotate this on, right? You're probably looking at Ibo, looking at something like an Aatrox towards the top side there for himself. There it is. I mean, there's nothing else for them to go for, right?
It makes sense.
And even though LDLC were probably looking for the idea of getting, I expect, a DOS on the R5 counter pick, blinding Kalista just seems like such a slight here into Heretics.
I mean, it's something that has been banned against LDLC a hell of a lot, something like 80% of the time again. So, it's something Execute's very comfortable on, but I do agree with the both of you. Not an easy game to just pick the Kalista and win automatically with it. Zoero's thinking about something like the Ahri, but instead we get Ibo's infamous Aatrox to back everything else up.
Now here's what I wonder. Of course, between these two teams, it's all about the bot lane. It's all about Jack Spectre, Whiting versus Execute and DOS. And I feel like if Yike has actually wanted to play for that bot side of the map, instead of sticking towards Ragnar, they stick Ragnar onto an Ornn, they leave him onto his own devices, and he perma-hits that bot side of the map. Now, of course, you do not have a lot of choices. The Poppies are out, the Sejuanis are out, the Vi is a really good pick if you want to lock someone down, and then you also have the follow-up with the Ornn.
Yeah, and not only that, I think just having the point-and-click lockdown on Draven and having the immediate follow-up already from the Ornn just makes so much sense, and now you have the opportunity to ban away two junglers, right? You can take away Blue Azor's Trundle here, which you've already done, then you can look towards something else. Poppy's already off the table, a lot of these AD junglers that can still go on towards the ban phase, and LDLC are probably going to be sitting really comfortable one-to-one in the jungle pool.
Yeah, and I also like Javan's one of the very strong early game junglers, but when you play Kalista and Vi and Ornn, who can actually break Cataclysm and create a door for everyone to exit, right? I don't think you really care too much about the like of Javan, but I agree with your Trundle. Really good catch right there, Jamada. And then you have one more pick to ban. This could very well be something like a Renata, like potentially a Zillion that Kalista really struggles into.
Already with the picks here, you can see there'll likely be some bot side focus, unsurprisingly, with who the teams are. And some level 6 shenanigans with all the crazy ultimates. The Nocturne is the final ban. It's one of those junglers that's been around and about as an occasional counter pick, and they've just decided they don't want to deal with that if it was going to, make those bot side plays even more tricky.
It's a really nice call out, honestly. I think with some of the AD junglers that are still left up and available, maybe we see Blue Azor kind of go off the tangent a little bit. Maybe he goes towards something like Xin Zhao, maybe, if he's really struggling. But I think, honestly, you definitely need to have something active when you're looking at Kalista as a jungle AD duo. When you have the Draven, you're going to want to try and out-skirmish this as Heretics.
I'm thinking right here, even something like a Viego would make sense from the side of Blue Azor, because when I look at Viego, I look at the champions that he can pick up without their ultimates and see how valuable they are. And so far, Ornn is very valuable, Kalista and Vi all very valuable to sort of follow up a potential fight. And also, he has so much space created for himself with the Aatrox and the Azir soldiers that you could potentially pick something like this. Also really important if you want to dive towards a bot lane of the map. That level 6 resets the tower as well. Could potentially work really well with something like the Draven.
Yeah, he's not played any Viego yet this in a little while, so he's not played at this tournament at the very least, but maybe this will be the option here. Debating something like the Renata, which of course has fallen off priority a little bit, still very, very strong. The hostile takeover, very deadly as well, and it's a strong lane dominant pick. They do lock it in. Now we'd see what they do decide to go towards in that jungle. As you've both been saying, you would kind of prefer something like one of those AD brawlers, but
He
pool
still
has been
has
pushed
things
a little
like
bit.
Lee Sin, but I find
Yeah.
Lee Sin extremely difficult to play here, especially if you don't dominate in the very early game. We saw in the series yesterday, Akabane really struggled over Lee Sin when it was the last pick that you can pick out of your box, right?
Yeah, I feel like Lee would more struggle here because it's kind of, I was going to say, Heretics are lacking a go ban at the moment, right? And with LDLC banning away the Nocturne, they kind of forced the hand here of BlueRosal to go towards this Jarvan. It's not the best when it comes to the mid-game team fights into what LDLC are running, admittedly, but I think that at the very least, they'll give themselves the options to attack Iker in the mid lane on this immobile mage, maybe try and stand up in the 2v2 and the 3v3 in the bottom side.
But then you're allowing Yak to move towards the bot side of the map and try to create havoc by getting that Kalista ahead versus the Draven. And mind you, Kalista does not care too much about the flag and drags, about the Catacombs. She can just hop out, loving the Janna right here on DOS versus Exekick.
Yeah, I mean, I was chatting to Orcs of all people literally last
Who's
week
that?
about, like, you know, the
Who's
guy, you
Orcs?
might have seen him on the desk or something. And I was chatting about, you know, some of these picks that you could potentially throw down to the bot side, and thinking that things like the Janna have been kind of going under the radar with things like Yumi and Soraka.
Soraka, maybe?
Exactly, you know, those kind of vibes. Janna's right up there in that, even if she's been flying under the radar, and this is an opportunity now to try and make that work. You can keep her even more safe, or just throw her in for one of those crazy insects, I suppose, with the Fate Call into R from Janna.
I feel like what LDLC have done here is they've created so much room for Exekick to play team fights. The gravity field going down, Janna with so much CC in her ultimate pushing people away, Ornn ult and all of his CC that he can provide, plus the ornaments later on. Exekick is set up for success in the team fights, which is really difficult for Kallistas to achieve.
Yeah, and honestly, you were both kind of a bit nervous about that early Callista. My question now, Jamada, is have they done enough to make it more playable? Because I know you were nervous earlier on. Have these last few picks helped that, or helped change your mind at all? Look at your face, you're not quite convinced.
I'm not fully sold. I think that they've definitely drafted a lot of space buying tools, like you say. I feel like Heretics are the kind of team that will try their best to actually worm around a lot of these issues that they're potentially going to run into here in the mid game. And again, they've still got, in my eyes, the favorable bot side matchup. And I think they can also very easily go to attack Iker in the mid lane.
Yeah, and as we head onto the Rift here for Game 1, a quick reminder to all of you out there as you're tuning in and preparing yourself, and on, hopefully, Twitch, you can go claim your August/September League of Legends monthly capsule for all the Prime shoppers out there for your chance to get RP, Mythic Essence skins, and so much more. If you're tuning in, you may as well take the 2 seconds to go claim that, because it's free stuff if you've got Prime already.
Yeah, and if you're playing on, wouldn't you want to look like this?
Exactly. I think
Look
it's a very
how
pretty
glorious
score.
he looks.
It is a
Yes.
really pretty skin.
It's a good deal. Guys, go do it.
you go.
I've done it loads of times. It's great.
I get so much and that's us selling out for a little bit. But the ad's over and the game's on. And that does mean we've got to keep our eyes up on this early game. I think eyes are obviously towards that bot lane. Interesting choice, Mex, to go towards the barrier to try and present some of the early deaths. And you've spotted something from Trouble. You're tapping at one of those screens. What are you seeing?
Back in 2020,
Yes.
Okay.
the top laner of Heretics, Aibo, was playing
this.
for a team called Kick. Together with Pokestyle when the whole situation blew up. It was 2020 spring, actually, even when that blew up. Now, Aibo is my dad's, who's watching a lot of League of Legends, favorite ERO top
Cute.
laner because he's told me that no one can beat him on his Aatrox. Funnily enough, Aibo is undefeated this European Masters on his Aatrox. He's 3-0. It's one of his more legendary picks and what he's known for. And honestly, I remember back then the chat. My dad was going to the chat and
Yes.
posting posts at Gurum and stuff. And like a lot of Polish people were posting like Dad Gurum because he
I love that.
because he was supporting Aibo. So that's my bias for the day.
And you know what? Actually, even history aside, Aibo's Aatrox got Heretics to their semifinals
There you go.
with that flag. So instrumental for Heretics to make sure that they also try and pay some attention to the top side to a degree. But I feel like, again, Interact not on that on, he should very much be self-sufficient.
Funnily, you mentioned that. I believe we've actually even prepped a graphic for that specific pick for Aibo because it was so dominant for production. If you've got that, I'd love to see it because the numbers have been nothing short of incredible. Maybe we'll have to keep our eyes on those numbers as Heretics actually using the pressure bot to get in on this Grom. We'll have to come back to it. So much damage and Yikes forced out very early. He's had to flash away with the Ignite down as well.
Yeah, I mean, one more, he was about to die. But this is what Heretics love to do. They did it so many times throughout the entirety of quarterfinals. And again, Heretics get that shove in the bottom side of the map, immediately roam up to where BlueRosal is, go and cause Yikes some issues. They force him off the Gromp. I believe that one went over to BlueRosal, and now there's a pretty big jungle lead that they can try and leverage as they move forward throughout towards the mid lane.
And I love this. This is something that G2 used to do when Reckless was in the team, especially when he was playing a bunch of Tristana. They would have perma-prio in the bot side of the map, and then Jankos would just invade the bot quadrant of whatever jungler they were playing against. So that's a really pretty good move. You've set your jungler pretty much 3 camps ahead at this point, and you also have your entire bot quadrant of the jungle if you're Bluerzor to farm.
Fantastic. And now that we haven't got this slight early invade going on from Heretics to get Bluerzor ahead, then we can touch on those Aatrox numbers because they are pretty impressive, shall we say, currently at EU Masters.
So we're talking about Adam yesterday, and we said how his Aatrox was doing about 640 damage per minute. Yeah, iBoss is a little bit above that. 653, 100% win rate, as we've mentioned, in this entire European Masters at 16.5 KDA. Oh, might I add...
Wait, that was an unfortunate little shuffle. Decides to do a cha-cha slide, or maybe the hokey cokey goes right in and right out again. Does get out of dodge, but that was unusual.
Just a prank.
Apparently so. Ibo, though, has decided, the moment we bring up these Aatrox, does he go to this? Yike's got no flash, and he's in so much danger. That gravity field, though, from Ica prevents the kill, but that is twice now that Yike has been forced to very low HPs in his own damn jungle.
And you know, he was actually drawing the comparison between Ibo and Adam, funnily enough. Ibo's the one making the roams down straight away towards the
I
mid
was
lane.
about to say, Ibo is actually one of the highest skill participation top laners that are in the quarterfinals, and that's why, because he's willing to leave that top lane to get his advantage around the map. He's willing to group up with his team very early on for Heralds, for Dragon fights, and this is why he gets these high DPS numbers that you see on the champion and the high KDA. Not only is he a master of the champion, but he also makes it work very early on. Bluerzor?
Ica in danger. Bluerzor does land that flag and drag, with the ground field doing a fair amount to prevent the easy kill. Just HP going in the favor of Heretics right now.
Not quite enough damage yet to blow the flash, but again, if they get the flash here, Ica's really respectful. All of a sudden, that level 6 becomes so easy for the setup, right? You've got the wall, you've got the Cataclysm, anything you need. This is what I was saying, even though, yes, you've got Jack, Spectre, and Wine in this very favorable bottom side matchup, if you go towards the mid lane, if Victor has no flash, you're dealing with a Jarvan and you're dealing with that Emperor's Divide from the zip.
And this is now a couple times in a row that we've seen Heretics looking to be aggressive early. It's what we were hoping to see on the desk. And a reminder, they are the last hope of the rest of Europe. The LFL dominance has been pretty much complete across the rest of this tournament for the last year.
I don't care where you're from. If you don't want to see LFL versus LFL, you're with Heretics tonight.
Yeah. And no one expected the Spanish Inquisition in the semi-finals, but here they are looking to bring down this sort of French dominance that's been going on for so long. And, you know, the LVP hasn't been to a final since 2019 with the Vodafone Giants. Mad Lions in 2018 were the last time the Spanish League actually won. And of course, Mad Lions went on to join the LEC. Heretics are joining next year, and Jack Spectre is taking an ugly trade with the Rend coming through there.
And talking about Heretics joining the LEC, I want to draw our eyes straight to Bluerzor. Back in 2021, he was playing for BDS Academy. Now guess what? BDS got a spot in the LEC. Bluerzor was not part of that roster, even though he was playing for the Academy. Now he's playing for Heretics. Heretics got a spot in the LEC. This is the second time as the charm, basically, for Bluerzor to prove his worth, so he could potentially get that upgrade ticket to first class.
The story's kind of writing itself, right? And you would definitely hate to see him miss out 2 times in the manner that they have done, especially with Heretics being, you know, maybe the most dominant Spanish team we've seen in a while. I mean,
It's been a while.
You had the argument for Fnatic Team Kesso last year.
I don't know, man. Last time Fnatic was dominant, they were playing for the NLC. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. All right. They were quite good in spring as well. Noah out there is like, please don't forget. And of course, they had that unfortunate run at EU Masters, but even so, early pressure from LDLC there, getting that very nice trade by X-Kick early on will give them a chance to get towards this early dragon, but Heretics may be looking to see whether there's a steal angle available.
They're going for it at the very least. They don't want to let it go, right? We've had bot lane priority for so long. It's coming down low now.
Oh my days, it's gonna get close. Taken by X-Kick for the double knockup. It's pretty huge. In they come for the Shurima shuffle and first blood onto Yike. Surely he has been the target of so much pressure in this early game, and he does fall down. Dragon for kill trade.
I think you're fine if you're LDLC. You've not lost anything else. It's just the kill that's going down. Luckily for you, it's not the Draven, very importantly, that's cashing in. It just goes over to White in the Renata, so it's fine. You'll trade 1 kill onto your jungler, but you've secured a very important objective the second you start stacking the map, because you know you're also losing a lot of that priority towards the bot side of the map. So the fact that you're able to take this away when you're not having a lot of prior bot is pretty good for your team.
I mean, LDLC just have to set up right the Rend, the smite. It's the Rend that secures it in the end, and I think it was actually just a combination of Yike and that Rend. Unfortunately, Yak Splash doesn't get him far away enough from that Emperor's Divide.
Oh,
and again, they just continue to attack the bottom side of the map because right now X-Kick still has a pretty massive lead.
He has
that summoner spells though, and he has a base.
Oh no, it's going to be dangerous. He's got a barrier, but not enough weight. The damage isn't quite there. Flashing forward for a Zephyr. Make sure it's a 1-for-1, but that cash-in is huge, and Jack Spectra comes out very healthily atop. It's a 700 gold swing. But here comes Yike and Ica looking to make sure that this pain is paid back. The slow comes through. The flag and drag comes down. In with the Chaos Storm. Is it enough? A flash for the Siphon Power. Secures Ica a kill onto the enemy jungler.
It's a really nice response, at the very least, to the dive, but I feel like the damage is kind of half done, right? You got the gold where you want it inside of the Draven, and now you're at the very least back at parry, a little bit ahead even. Let's take a look at the dive again, because honestly, really solid execution from Heretics.
And Exekick had not backed after this Dragons. He has no mana, he has very little HP, and very importantly, DOS is not level 6 to try and dissuade this dive. Jack Spectra cashing in really, really early means that this laning phase for the Kalista is gonna get harder and harder.
It really is.
They're going to try their very best to do that. Of course, Ica, with the quick roam, does what he has been doing all split long in the LFL. Just teaming up with his jungler, getting out of that lane, and making things on the side lanes work. And now let's have a look. Now we've got a little bit more time and there's no more jungler phase going on. To have a look at those bot laners. On the desk, they were calling these two the princes that were promised. These two who were trying to basically use as an opportunity to get themselves into the LEC. They have been two of the very best. And the moment we try and bring it up, they're fighting in the top side jungle, ways away from the bot lane.
Narrative isn't allowed,
No.
Sam, all right?
Okay.
They don't want to hear it, and they're very much happy to just fist fight, and I mean, it's kind of what we expect from Heretics, and off the back of this, immediately, it's just the Herald, so we want to see where this is going to go. Expectations, probably bot lane trouble.
Now, absolutely, I think the more money you put into the Draven early on, the better it is. But also, when you have a mid that perma wave clears, you usually want to use the Rift Herald to open up that mid lane because it's that much more difficult to try and get Ica off that mid lane to drop down the tower, right? So you've got two choices. We'll see what Heretics are going to go with, but you see how we mentioned how LDLC, when they were pressed in the best of 5 and quarterfinals, it was a team that played their pace. They played that slow early game, straight into team fights that LDLC are really freaking good at. Heretics are brawlers, they're skirmishers, they'll take the fight to you. Now, we know LDLC to be one of the most solid teams in the early game who don't bleed very easily, but here, they have already bled close to 2,000 gold. A lot of that is also into the jungle for Bluerzor, but Ivo might be in trouble.
The Forge God is being called, but the Ram Jam not quite enough to secure a kill to Ivo, who will flash away.
Wow.
Brittle Proc is pretty good, but is not enough to secure the kill.
Yes, Yike with no ultimate. That's why they actually end up turning around there. Not
sticking
enough
around.
to take it down. But yeah, I mean, denying the wave is pretty good, right? Ivo, pretty massive, but still going to be able to walk up. A little bit of red buff regen. Allows him to just basically secure most of this wave for himself, so this gank kind of comes to moot.
And, you know, you've got to look at these numbers now. It is Heretics green across the board, up in gold everywhere. They're up about that 1,000 gold. They've still got that Herald to drop, and that is credit to them. Honestly, I was getting a little nervous when X-Kick was getting a lot of those plates earlier on. But the shutdown gold that came through for Jack Spectre is great news. They've got that Herald, and they are up with a squad that wants to get that snowballing happening, get that Aatrox, get that Draven towards the first item nice and early on. Now to see where Bluerzor does drop it in trouble. Have you spotted something here that's catching your eye?
Every single time there is bot lane prio from the side of Heretics, the first thing they do is they move straight into the jungle to see if there's any minions left to put down some vision for themselves. It's a constant push through bot to invade that bot side, get whatever you can, whether it's vision, whether it's minions, or whether it's actually a kill, and continue snowballing through that. Now I'm expecting Heretics to drop that Rift Herald actually mid now that only Ica is around and Yike is resetting to try and move into the river for that dragon that's spawning in 10 seconds.
Exactly that. They've got the vision control, they've got the Herald, they're looking to move towards the river. You see whether LDLC want to contest it.
Yeah, I mean, with this much control, right, they've got wards kind of littered around the bottom side there, you can kind of see, so they have a rough idea of what's going on, but it's still Heretics in the river first. They've got the Herald, it looks like they're going to use it bottom side just to secure a bit of extra gold for Jack Spectre, but also a little bit of pressure. Is Sphero going to go over the wall as well? Looks like the answer is no, so they just want the plates for now. Jack Spectre got that solo, actually, so he's going to get a massive chunk extra, 320 in total.
Does indeed.
That's going to swing the gold even further in his favor.
But here's the thing, right? That Rift Herald was just used, not necessarily for pressure, but it was used for gold. Gold that hasn't been cashed in yet in the inventories, and there's a dragon fight that's about to come up. And last time it was LDLC that managed to find the smite together with the Rend from Exekick to secure that one. Now DOS is moving in, Ica and Yike are coming in through the jungle, but I think this dragon's already gone.
Will be some on the site reporting from DOS here with that weather skin from John. Whose name I forgot? What is it? Forecast John. There we go. Took me a second. I was like, there's a name of that.
Yoink.
Tried to steal it. Not sure whether it was.
No,
No,
it was Blurzor. It was Blurzor.
Did manage to get that, but that is Dragon secured alongside that Skull Crab, and they've got the Herald down as well. Nice sequence of play from Heretics there to get themselves a healthy lead in this early game.
Yeah, it was just a really good map state, right? Ibo was able to potentially roam down, and Ragnar had no way of actually answering it straight away. But on top of that, I just feel like Heretics had the setup already set in stone, and that's really big for the entirety of the game because LDLC already had that first dragon. If you give over that second one, all of a sudden you're kind of worrying always in the back of your head, soul point. But you kind of want to wait a little bit longer for the Azir to come online, also the Aatrox. I think just being able to break that apart and also spawn in the best soul in the game, by the way. I'm here to defend myself.
Alright, sorry. I've not got my wallet on me. You can't sell this cloud to me.
Production, please. I'm gonna either have Memera with the craziest puns,
oh my days,
the craziest puns in history, or the Cloud Soul Defender. You know what? This is Clown Soul. There you go.
Okay, I'm not. All right, I'm stopping this here. I'm not having this fight. No, come on. All right, look. Behave, children. All right, it's game 1. I need you guys on good terms at least until game 3.
Now,
yes.
Bring everyone back into this game. I'm starting to worry a little bit, honestly, for LDLC, because even though you've got ornaments, you've got scaling, most of your scaling falls onto Ica. It falls onto this Victor, something that it is pretty easy to itemize against. A Hex Drink, potentially onto Spectra and Ibo could solve the issue. Something like Spirit Visits. Ibo?
Literally the moment we say you're in trouble, they do this, but over comes White in, a Blurazor, bailed out. Is it going to be enough to keep on? He's revived! And that means it's going to be this 1v3. Ragnar's got nowhere to go. They tried to give the execute over to Jack Spectra. It will not happen, though. It's still a 2 for none in favor of Heretics.
Ambulance, but not for me!
Oh, now they're playing the mid lane! Shuffle gets DOS back, but he'll be flashing away. Do what he can. Dwyer taking so much damage. Will be bailed out, but will there be enough to stopwatch? Is it going to be enough time? Does burn down. Not enough money in the bank. There is the to Monsoon afterwards to keep him alive. An LDLC outplay in mid.
Oh, what a clutch stopwatch, man. Just being able to stop the bailout come through because almost certainly Ica was going to drop. Stopping the bailout back to back. That would have been a tilter if they're able to get those revives off in that manner. And now Heretics kind of stifled a bit in their mid lane play. They'll still get this topside tower, however, for Ibo. And that's a massive swing of gold considering how far ahead he is continuing to grow his lead now.
And a very necessary turnaround because LDLC, if they lose that play as well alongside the top tower, it's beginning to feel very dire. At least they have a good feel moment. Might get this bot lane tower as well.
I feel like if they lost one member in the mid lane, they would lose 2 right there. So it would be a huge influx of gold for the side of Heretics. But very importantly, yes, LDLC have managed to break that both side of the map. But again, what I was about to say is that Ornn will bring you ornaments, but the scaling is mainly onto your Victor. Your Kalista will struggle to play these teamfights no matter how much space you can buy for her. I'm always like, well, I'm here. I'll take all of your ults. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I mean, do you know what actually keeps him alive here? It's the Gordrinker build of all bits. He has the HP and the proc. Obviously, normally we see the Eclipse come out.
Renata did something there as well.
All right, but I feel like if Ibo didn't have the Gordrinker and the extra HP, he would have actually probably died before that revive came in from the Renata. So moving on towards this mid lane play now, Zoro just says, hey, I mean, they're here. You guys are roaming down from the top side, and they make it almost work. The bailout almost comes through, but this stopwatch is so clutch from Ica.
Ica flashes about a Teemo outside of the range of the shuffle as well, so he doesn't get pushed back and he doesn't take the damage there. Big turnaround. Still a gold lead for Heretics. Still feeling very happy. Second item now for Jack Spectra as well. And on the other side, yes, the Kalista has got some CS, but is behind in gold. That's not what you want to see. The Kalista not really being played to that much either. Could be a problem here. We've got a minute until what be third dragon, and Herald number 2 is alive. Question is, when do LDLC feel now is the time we have to fight? Because you kind of said, outside of the Victor, the scaling, not phenomenal.
You're gonna have to start trying to fight, catch someone on a side lane. That someone could very easily be that Ibo, get that fire on a side, then get another damage dealer, because even if Heretics lose Ibo, they've got Azir, they've got Draven. If they lose Draven, they've got Azir, they've got Aatrox. They lose the Azir, they've got 2 more damage dealers. They have 3 damage dealers in the team. If they lose any of them, there's more people to do the damage. On the other side, if you lose the Kalista, that's your consistent damage coming through. Victor's just gonna throw his poke out, back out. Throw his poke out, back out. If you lose your Kalista, if she gets caught accidentally in anything, something like an Azir shuffle or anything, you pretty much have to back out of the fight.
Yeah, and even then, I feel like Kalista's going to struggle at X-Kick. Look at the range difference, really, between a lot of these champions. If he's in range to deal damage, he's also in range to die.
Yeah.
So I feel like he's definitely going to struggle. A lot is going to be put on Aika's shoulders here. Fortunately for them, they actually have first move into the river. It's Heretics that are a little bit slow to this play. They're going to start up the dragon, and that's always going to be one of the key sort of win conditions for these fights for LDLC, being in front of objectives first.
But for Heretics, it's so much more important to break that mid lane tier 1 and open the map completely for them. And unfortunately for LDLC, they have to reply to that Rift Ult, which means that they briefly have to get out of the river. Heretics move in as 5. They do not want to TP Ragnar into this, and 2 are going to go to the side of Heretics.
Well played there, despite all the vision control. Overgo LDLC though, but I don't think they want that. Hostile takeover! Gets onto 2. The monsoon fight time for X-Kick cannot flash far enough away, and he's straight into a grave, courtesy of the glorious execution from Noxus. Nowhere to go for DOS either. He'll be a second one to make sure it's 3 kills in the pockets of Jack Spectra.
It's a disaster, LDLC. They don't get the dragon, they go the blast cone.
You're not
And then they also die. Now Ibo's looking for the 1v1, and honestly, he's going to find it.
Just like this, there goes the call of the Forge God. Ragnar cannot stop his world being rocked. An end of days, courtesy of a world ender. A few more Darkened Blades, he dies as well. And a monstrous series of wins across the map for Heretics.
And where did this all start? It started from the bot lane. It started with Jack Spectra and Whiting locking in the Draven, locking in the Renata, getting that prior through bot. Bluers are kept invading. They kept getting that early game pressure through bot. And now that Draven is 2,000 gold on top of the Kalista.
What on earth was this blast cone, Jamal?
They don't have vision. I mean, I guess they're just not. They probably expected everyone to move up towards the mid lane. That's my only
Why?
guess.
Because their minimap got wiped out the map?
I'm just looking for something to grasp at, okay, Trouble? I'm not in the mind here. What I thought was quite cute was when DOS got dragged in, obviously X-Kick had already died.
They won't notice, guys. I'm just gonna...
They won't notice. I'm just going to stay here. Maybe they leave. It's like Solid Snake underneath a cardboard box.
The exclamation mark tops of the head of Jack Spectra. It's like, oh no.
He's a snake. He's a slippery snake.
What is going on in this cast? Okay, mid lane turret just fell as well, and suddenly Heretics have gone from a few thousand gold ahead to a solid 6,500 gold in their favor. When we were chatting about this in the green room, we said, look, if the Heretics come out swinging in the early game, get themselves a lead, they may well be favored in this series. This is exactly what you want to see if you're a Heretics fan.
Exactly, but what I will say on the opposite side, for LDLC, never mind. Fate's cool.
Alongside the story, Scotland straight back in the teleport for this, and maybe LDLC have had enough of just losing like this. In goes Blue Resort, the turnaround is huge. The Shifurima shuffle, make sure Aika dies. It's now the 1-for-1. Already the damage is done. It's a 3-for-2 already. Ibo in the backside onto Exakick, looking to kick his head in. Take down the Kalista, nowhere to go. It's an 8-for-2.
Heretics have snowballed that early game to a pretty much confirmed victory on the map right now. And if we see this again, Bluerzor is always spraying, trying to fight DOS right there, but a pretty good stopwatch will save him. But here DOS is trying to pull a Trimby, goes a little bit too deep. But that Renata ult and the bailout on Bluerzor, that Spectra makes sure that his jungler gets out.
The combo is actually quite good from LDLC, to be honest with you, but they just run out of damage, and that Renata ultimate just zones everybody away.
And because your damage is just trying to run away.
Just running away from this guy, smashing your head in. Ibo, I mean, again, in these team fights, kind of around these mid lane brushes, it's just where he seems to thrive, apparently. Kicks X ahead.
This was really funny because Ibo walks out with like pretty much 1,000 needles and spears on his body. He's like, I'm fine.
Acupuncture. Like he's acupuncture. He's had a nice little session warming himself up. I hate to do this, but I do want to turn your eyes down to the gold discrepancy between the AD carries. Because that is now 3 completed items plus stopwatch to not even 2 for the side of X-Kick.
That's all right.
I think.
Wait, can I say something?
Yeah?
Why does X-Kick have 2 agility?
Is he trying to get to crit like
He's
now?
trying to conceal himself from the Aatrox.
Ah, right.
It's like a cloak from like Harry Potter and stuff.
Instead of an agility
it's
cloak,
an invisibility
cloak.
cloak.
Invisibility cloak, right? Yeah.
The damage feels invisible.
It's not working.
No.
Okay, I think all jokes aside, I think LDLC, they have to go back to the drawing board. The fact that they were willing to pick the Kalista into Azir, I'm all with you. But you need to be a lot more active in the early game to try and get that Kalista ahead, because right now, Heretics are 1 team fight from winning.
Cease and desist goes in, but it's turnaround with a hostile takeover again. Yike is executed, the whirling death lives up to its namesake. Ibo comes flying in, the world is ending, and the French team, the #1 seed from the LFL, are collapsing missing in game 1.
It's a complete routing from the Heretics side. And I mean, honestly, this has just been clinical, and this is what we wanted to see from the Spanish side. I think for LDLC, like you were just about to say, going back to the drawing board, reevaluating the draft a little bit, because to me, sure, losing game 1, a bit of a download potentially, but let's see how they'll look moving forward.
And just as it was written, we were hoping for some competition. We were hoping for a series that would come out swinging. Heretics bring down the pre-tournament favorites in game 1.